Okay. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday, September 28th, 2021 at 9 a.m. As a courtesy to others, please turn off cell phones or other electronic devices which may disrupt the meeting. If attending via Zoom, please have your microphones muted at all times when you're not speaking. All agenda items on the agenda, other than correspondence and board and staff member reports, are considered items for which the board may take action. The public will be given an opportunity to comment on action items on the agenda when the item is heard, and comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group. Supervisor Blazer, will you lead us in the pledge this morning?
Yes, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Here.
Supervisor Blazer,
Here.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Thank you.
Great, thank you. First up is the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are to be considered routine and can be enacted in one motion. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I will bring it back to the board.
I would like to pull 496. What workplace violence policy?
Okay,
Move to approve.
okay, I have a first.
With the exception.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
With the exception of 502, which I vote no on, I vote yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Next, we will move on to special presentations. Receive presentation regarding Veteran Services 75th anniversary. Morning, Marvin.
Good morning, Chairman and esteemed board members. I'd like to take the next few minutes to present some information concerning the Yuba Sutter Veteran Service Office. As some of you are aware, the Veteran Service Office has just finished our 75th year of service to our community. This office was first established by proclamation in July 2nd, 1945, with an effective date of July 1st. The original Veteran Service Officer was Harry Mineff. Since that date, Veteran Service Office has had 11 Veteran Service Officers directing the office with continual service to our veterans and their dependents. These services are available to help obtain federal, state, and local benefits. It is through the continued support of from this board that we have been able to help our veterans. I have provided to you a couple of documents I would like to highlight. The first is a letter with a graph produced within the Veteran Service Office and shows the cumulative effects the office has had for our local veterans. Based on our best calculation, the Veteran Service Office is responsible for obtaining ongoing benefits paid to veterans in the amount of $58 million for this past fiscal year. Of this, new benefits received in fiscal year 2021 is $4.8 million in retroactive and lump sum payments and annualized monthly payments of $5.9 million. The second item I have included is a special edition of the California Association of County Veteran Service Officers annual report. The CACVSO is also celebrating their 75th year of service. Contained on page 19 is data reflecting the association's statewide effort in fiscal year 19 and 20 to help California veterans. This data documents the Yuba Sutter office's new awards of over $11 million with an average veteran benefit payment of nearly $6,500. This effort to reach our veterans and fight for their benefits has placed Yuba Sutter veterans in number 5 position statewide for receiving benefits at 36.2%. This means that 1 in every 3 local veterans is receiving a VA payment. This is a direct result of the hard work from office staff members, training received from CACVSO, and the continued commitment for helping those in need. During this year's celebration of the 75th anniversary, Health and Human Service Department wanted to showcase the department's staff and their family members who are veterans. This project evolved into a video that we would like to play for you. Just got to figure all your technology out here.
I think you have to, yep, there we go. We'll get some help.
This one right here. Yeah, this all worked yesterday, so we're hoping it all works. And here we go. This is Marvin King. I'm the Yuba and Sutter County Veteran Service Office. I had a wonderful career in the military. During my military service, I had deployed several different countries for several different military operations. The countries that I had served in include England, Saudi Arabia, Italy, and Korea. During my career, I supported Operation Desert Storm, Operation Desert Shield, Operation Joint Endeavor, Operation Southern Watch, and Operation Enduring Freedom. My military career allowed me to work on B-52 bombers, U-2 spy planes, and A-10 anti-tank fighters. I also worked on a ground intelligence exploitation system used by national agencies for critical enemy troop movements and operations. My family has a long history of military service. In my direct family, 4 other brothers served in a variety of military branches. My dad served in the U.S. Marines and then retired from the U.S. Army after 2 tours of Vietnam. My uncle served in the U.S. Navy. I have also attached a photo of myself and 3 of my brothers that were in the service at the same time. In fact, 3 of us deployed to the same operation in Desert Storm in 1990. Aaron married my daughter in November 2015. In 2003, Aaron deployed for the first time to Iraq. Followed-on deployments occurred in 2005 and 2019.
Dana Lawrence. I served in the Marine Corps October 18, 2004 through October 17, 2008, and I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Hi, my name is Jamie Bartolome, and my son Anthony Martinez is currently serving in the Air Force. He's been in the Air Force since May 30th of 2016, currently stationed in Florida, and he just received orders that he is going to Korea beginning November of this year.
Hi, I'm Mita Gutierrez, and my father is Lim Hall. He served in the Army, the 7th Division, 13th Battalion during the Korean War. My dad is very proud to have served during the Korean War. He returned to Korea as a guest of the Korean government 60 years after the Korean War ended on Veterans Day. President Obama attended the ceremony that they had in Korea, and Dad is sure that President Obama pointed at him and waved, a day that will live in infamy in the Lim family.
Hi, my name is Maria Garcia, and this is my son Marcos Topete, who is currently serving in the United States Army. Currently stationed in South Korea and will be there for a year.
Hi, I'm Macy Bartolome. My grandpa, Art Bartolome, served in the Marines from 1964 to 1967, and he earned a Purple Heart in Vietnam.
My name is Ben Martin. I served in the United States Navy from 1992 to 1996. I was stationed on the USS Kitty Hawk in San Diego, California. I had the opportunity to be the captain's personal cook on an aircraft carrier. I was deployed in the Persian Gulf during Operation Southern Watch, and I had the opportunity to visit many countries including Japan, Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, Mexico, and Hawaii on multiple occasions.
Hi, my name is Marisol Jimenez, and my sister Natalie Jimenez served in the U.S. Navy from August 1999 to May 2001. My aunt, Virginia Balderas, also served in the U.S. Navy, and my uncle, Manuel Balderas, served in the U.S. Army.
Hi, this is Michelle Ledesma. My son Anthony Jensen served in the U.S. Army from September 2016 till June 2020. He is a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom, which he served there on the Iraqi and Syrian border from 2019 till 2020. He also met General Milley while serving in Iraq. General Milley went out to visit the troops in the field, where he awarded my son with a challenge coin.
I'm Michelle Mazzaroli, and this is a picture of my grandfather, Jimmy Iwamura, who served as an interpreter and translator in the U.S. Army during World War II.
Cryptologic Technician Collections First Class, Eric Davey, from July 22nd, 1999 till November 22nd, 2008. Served aboard the USS Boxer, and while doing that, served in the Iraq War.
My name is Jennifer Pixley. I served in our United States Navy from November 1993 through February 2001. My first tour of duty was at Naval Air Station Whiting Field in Florida. While there, I became an aviation boatswain's mate aircraft handler. My second tour of duty was on board the USS Carl Vinson, stationed out of Bremerton, Washington. I participated in Operation Desert Fox in December 1998. I had an honorable separation after greater than 7 years of service.
My name is Russell Henderson. I served in the U.S. Navy from June 11, 1991 to June 30th, 2011. Growing up, I used to hear stories from my mom about my grandpa, who was a signalman on the USS Lauderdale and drove Higgin boats onto the shore in the island of Iwo Jima in World War II. And he was stuck with the Marines for a week on the island of Iwo Jima when his Higgins boat was shot from underneath him. So I always had that in the back of my mind growing up. When I graduated high school, got that card in the mail, I thought about my grandpa, and I chose to serve my country through the Navy. For the past 7 years, I've served in the Yuba Center Veteran Services Office. The most rewarding sense I get from everything is when a veteran looks at me and says, "Thank you, I didn't know about this." Or a surviving spouse who says, "Thank you, I didn't know how I was going to survive on my own without his benefits." The impacts you make are indescribable because you're not just affecting their lives, you're affecting everyone they come in contact with. And it's keeping within the sense of honor that the country has towards veterans and the promise that Abraham Lincoln made to survivors of the Civil War. He made a promise to take care of widows and veterans, and we get to honor that promise that Lincoln made so many years ago in our small county, and that's a privilege.
I'm Jennifer Vasquez, and this is a picture of my uncle, actually my great-uncle, Robert Romero, when he was serving on the USS Princeton carrier during the Korean War. He is very proud of the time that he served in the military, and our entire family is grateful for the sacrifices he made so that we can enjoy the freedoms we experience today. He has been like a grandpa to me and had a huge influence on my life.
My name is Renee Wilson, and my husband Thomas Wilson served in the U.S. Army for 10 and a half years and served in Vietnam. My brother, Michael Riga, also served in Vietnam as a U.S. Marine.
I would like to state that this is our 75th anniversary year. The Veteran Service Office was first established in July 1945 and has been in operation ever since. We've had great support from all of our Board of Supervisors and our veteran community. It has accomplished incredible benefits for our local veterans. It's been an honor for me to be in this position and working in this position as a Veteran Service Officer. I fully enjoy it. I also would like to thank all the veterans in our department and throughout the county. It is because of your sacrifice that we as a nation continue to be free today. Thank you. As you can see, the veterans, we have a lot of veterans in our county, in our department. I was amazed when we asked for input from our small little department, how many responses we got. And it's not, and we're just one department inside of the whole county. The thing that it shows me is that we have veterans all around us. And it is through their sacrifice that we as a nation are free. During this celebration of our 75th, let me go back here. I recognize the Veteran Service Office is able to accomplish this mission only because of the incredible staff we have and the great support we have from the Board of Supervisors. To show our appreciation, we would like to present each member of the board our 75th commemorative coin and a certificate of our appreciation for your support. So I'd like to present those to you. I don't know how you want to do that.
Would you like us to come down there?
Yes.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Margaret, can't thank you enough. You and I have known each other for a while. Less than 2% of the entire population of the United States now living has ever served or is serving at this point in time. Personally, you've helped my daughter, Karen, who had been fighting for years to get 100% disability. Finally, you're the first person. She went to Michigan, Ohio, all sorts of other places. My daughter Rebecca was also in the Navy, and you go to the park on 5th Street, And they have a saying there that they gave all their tomorrows for your todays. And thank you so much. And the veterans you helped may not have said so, but they thank you. And the saying, for those who fought for it, freedom has a special taste. The protected will never know. And we're seeing that now. So thank you.
Marvin, I just wanted to echo some of those comments. I wanted to thank you and your team and those in our community who have served. And I want to thank you and your team for your continued service to our community and everything you do for our veterans every day. It's greatly appreciated. And I'm very impressed that we're number 5 in the state. So I appreciate you sharing that. It was a great presentation, a great video, and thank you very much. Okay, and with that, we will move on to the next item, which is public communications. Any person may speak about any subject of concern, provided it is within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communication shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. If you are participating via Zoom and wish to comment, please use the raise hand function in Zoom or *9 if you're participating via phone. Mary, do we have any comment cards from the audience here? Okay, I do not see any public comment items on Zoom. So if anyone in the room wishes to comment on something not on the agenda, or anyone on Zoom, now would be your opportunity to do that. Please, if you're on Zoom, raise your hand. And if you're in the room, please submit a comment card. Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to county departments. And we will start off with item 496, 2021, that was pulled from the consent agenda, which is Human Resources, adopt resolution amending, reaffirming, and adopting the county's workplace violence prevention program. Morning, Jill.
Good morning. So in August of 2021, I brought to committee the workplace violence policy that has not been amended since 2009 when it was originally adopted. And there were a number of revisions that needed to be made, but in addition to that, your board had asked that we consider some additional revisions. So those were brought to committee. At that time, I was asked to bring the revised policy to all of our labor groups, which I did, and give them an opportunity to weigh in or meet and confer if they requested to do so. I've gone through that process and now am bringing that back to your board for full approval.
Great, thank you. Are there questions from board members?
I would like to move to add a section on page 6. I believe it goes from A to B, and just add a F for allowing anyone with a CCW.
Okay, is there a second for that?
Sure. So currently, the law enforcement is obviously allowed to bring their guns onto government buildings. And then there are various other exceptions that were carved out via the process that she just explained. So board members can bring their CCW weapons, and then other people with the approval of their head of their department can bring their weapons. And then I think there's also a provision for knives for use in the regular work that they do.
Correct.
And so I would like to see us simply allow people who have CCWs be allowed to have their weapons with them when in a government program.
Is there a second? Okay. Not hearing a second, I will entertain a motion to approve the policy as provided to the board.
Move to.
You have a first. Do I have a second? Okay, I have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes, and thank you, council, for reminding me. I did skip take any public comments on this item. Is there any public comment in the room or on Zoom? Okay, I'm not seeing any. $122.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Richard Eberly, Auditor Controller. I'm here to present to you the budget for fiscal year 21-22. Last board meeting on the 14th, your board adopted finalized the budget for the 21-22 year. And this action is formalizing the adoption of that budget and establishing the appropriations for the fiscal year 21-22. In conjunction with the County Administrator's Office, I worked to develop a different presentation from last time. And so you can see the overall budget appropriations for revenue and expenditures for the different areas of the government. So the governmental funds, which is everything but the airport and the internal service funds. And then there's a separate list of appropriations for the internal service funds. So I bring that to you and present that to you for your approval and answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions and or a motion from the board? Okay, I have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none in the room, seeing none on Zoom, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So next up is item 506, 2021. Board of Supervisors recommend nomination of representative and alternate to the California State Association of Counties Board of Directors for 2022. And I'll go ahead and take this one. Every year we have to formally adopt who will be the representative, our representative and our alternate on the CSAC Board of Directors, starting, I believe, in November and running through the following October. Current representatives, I am the primary representative and Supervisor Fuhr is the alternate. It would be my recommendation to the board to continue with that.
I would agree. Second.
Okay.
Second.
So I guess I could consider that a motion then, and then I
Yes.
have a second from Supervisor Vasquez. So is there any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, any additional board comment or question? Okay. Roll call vote then, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for allowing us to continue to serve in that position, Board. Appreciate it. I enjoy it. Okay, next up is item 489, 2021, Human Resources. Adopt master labor agreement between County of Yuba and Yuba County Employees Association for a 3-year term, September 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024, and authorize chair to execute.
Good morning, Jill Abel with the Human Resources Department. Excuse me. This morning, I'm asking your board to approve the master labor agreement between the county and YCEA. As you're aware, we have been in negotiations for quite a while to reach an agreement. So this agreement will go into effect on September 1st and will be basically a 3-year term through June 30, 2024. And the basic provisions of this agreement are, first of all, the term. Secondly, we needed to address some changes with health insurance. So as your board is aware, CalPERS did a plan structure change to the PPO plans. And so we basically have changed the way we contribute toward health insurance by having a flat rate that has an escalator annually based on the medical care component of CPI. In addition to that, we have a $1,000 lump sum payment that would be paid to employees the first of the month following board adoption, and 2 cost of living adjustments between 1.5% and 2.5% based on, again, CPI. There are a couple of other smaller provisions that don't initially have financial impact. For example, we're adding a step to the 10-year, a 10-year step on the longevity plan. And we are allowing employees to convert up to 40 hours of vacation to deferred comp at one point during the term of the contract. There are a couple other smaller provisions that are mentioned in the staff report, but I'm happy to answer any questions your board might have about this contract.
Does the board have any questions?
Jill, I don't know how much you're comfortable revealing, but can you just give us a general overview? I know this has been a protracted negotiations. About how long did this take? How many times going back and forth? I don't know what you can say or not say, but it's not been easy. I know that.
It hasn't been an easy process, no. I don't have off the top of my head an actual idea of how many meetings we had, but there were a lot. We began in, we tried to begin in March, but we weren't actually able to begin until April. We met quite a bit until we reached impasse. We went through mediation and almost went to fact finding, but we're able to get an agreement in mediation. So it was a very protracted, long process.
Thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay, any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none in the room and seeing none on Zoom, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like you're up again a few more times. Next is item 490, 2021, Human Resources. Consider application of benefits from YCEA MLA to non-represented miscellaneous management and confidential employees and adopt resolution to approve lump sum payment to the non-represented confidential group.
Okay, so good morning again. This item is basically to apply the benefits that you just approved for YCA to our non-represented group and our confidential employees with a couple little carve outs. So while the cost of living adjustments of 1.5 to 2.5% based on CPI would be applied to all of those individuals in addition to the eligibility to convert up to 40 hours of vacation to deferred comp. The only group that would get the $1,000 lump sum the first of the month following approval would be the confidential employees. And in addition to that, you know, the other provisions would apply as outlined in the staff report. So the same health insurance rate contribution as the rest of, we're seeking approval for the rest of the county to have. In addition, adding a 10-year step on the longevity index for employees hired after July 1, 2013, on or after July 1. And I think that is about it. The rest of it is in the staff report, but that is what I'm seeking approval for today.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
Through the chair, can this be done under one motion or is it required?
Oh, this particular agenda item? Council?
Sorry. I think it would be clear because there are two distinct applications. It would be clear if it was done by two motions. Thank you.
There's three.
There's also a resolution, so I don't know if that needs to be done differently, but.
Okay.
The reso can be part of one of the motions.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any public comment on this item, either on Zoom or in the board chambers? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'm not sure what we're making a motion on.
Okay. Move to approve.
So for clarification, oh, yes, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I'd recommend number one is a single item, and then number 2 and 3 can go together.
Okay. Move to approve the following application of benefits to the non-represented miscellaneous management classification.
Second.
Okay, I have a first from Supervisor Vasquez and a second from Supervisor Blazer. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford.
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I will entertain a motion for the other item, part of the agenda.
Okay. Go ahead.
Kevin, can you give me some clarification on the second motion?
It could be as simple as moving to approve recommendations 2 and 3 as outlined in the staff report.
Okay, I'll make a motion, approve item 2 and 3 as presented.
Great. Have a first from Supervisor Blazer, a second from Supervisor Vasquez. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have item 491, 2021, Human Resources. Approve amendment to the Deputy District Attorney Association Memorandum of Understanding and authorize chair to execute and ratify side letters between the county and the Deputy Sheriff's Association, Management Supervisory Association, and Probation Peace Officers Association.
Okay, good morning again. Jill Abel with the Human Resources Department. This item is related to the change that we talked about before with CalPERS Health. So CalPERS this year, actually November of 2020, elected to eliminate one of their PPO plans and collapse the other two into just a 2-plan offering for PPOs, meaning that the rate structures that we negotiated in all of our contracts were not able to be used any longer because the plan that they were tied to didn't exist anymore, will not exist anymore beginning January 1 of 2022. So I was directed by your board to negotiate with the other labor groups to determine how to move forward. And that is the result of this process. So this board item will in effect have all county employees paying the same health insurance rate January 1 of 2022. Now for the labor groups that are not currently in negotiations, that's our safety groups, the DSA, MSA, and YCPPOA, this will only be through June 30, 2022. They will need to negotiate for a further term when we're at the table with them in the spring.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments from the board? Okay. Are there comments from the public on this item? Okay. Seeing no public on Zoom or in the board that wishes to speak, I will return to the board for a motion. Before that, I will just ask council real quickly, one motion or multiple motions?
Again, I would recommend 2 motions because you're applying these things to different groups. So the board could apply to one, not to the other. So we really should do 2 motions.
Okay.
Move to approve the amendment with the Deputy District Attorney Association.
Okay, I have a first from Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes.
Second.
And a second from Supervisor Blazer. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. At this point, I will entertain the motion for the other half of the item.
Move to ratification of the side letters between the county and Deputy Sheriff's Association.
As well as the MSA and the
Yes, well, that's,
YCPPOA.
yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Second. Okay, I have a first from Supervisor Vasquez and and a second from Supervisor Fuhr. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, item 492, 2021, Human Resources. Adopt resolution to approve the department position allocation schedule for fiscal year 2021, 2022 in its entirety, effective July 1st, 2021.
Another HR person, different face though. So good morning, Chair, members of the board. I am Leah Williams from the Human Resources Department. Article 4 of the Yuba County Merit Resolution requires Human Resources to maintain the department position allocation schedule. It further requires that on an annual basis, when the auditor's office brings the final budget for your approval, that Human Resources also brings the updated department position allocation schedule for your approval. So I am seeking approval for the department position schedule allocation for the fiscal year 21-22.
Great, thank
Do you have
you.
any questions?
Seeing no questions from the board, any comment from the public on this item? Don't see any in the room or on Zoom, so I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a first from Supervisor Fuhrer and a second from Supervisor Vasquez. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, next up is item 311, 2021, Administrative Services. Direct Administrative Services to dispose county records. Morning, Jason.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here this morning with an agenda item that is the least controversial thus far. It is a simple request to actually take a look at some documents that have been stored way past their needed life and to seek a 4/5 vote, or in this case, a unanimous vote, to be able to dispose of those documents in order to free up room and space for continued storage.
So moved.
Second. Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, I don't see any in the board chambers or on Zoom. So with that, we will take a roll call vote, please, Mary.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes. Thank you.
Let the shredding begin.
Okay, next up is item 466, 2021, Health and Human Services, approved contract with Public Health Institute and authorized chair to execute. Oh, that looks like Dr. Liu is on Zoom. Do we have her as a?
Is that your phone?
There we go.
Good morning, Chair and other supervisors. I come to you today to ask for the Board of Supervisors to authorize the Health and Human Services Department to enter into a contract with the Public Health Institute for case investigation and contact tracing services to minimize the spread of communicable diseases, including that of COVID-19. Since March 2020, Yuba County has primarily relied on extra hire staff to perform contact investigation and contact tracing. Because of these are not permanent positions, turnover has been very high, leading to workload impacts to existing permanent health and human services staff. The need for continual recruitment to find extra hire staff has been very labor intensive for both the Human Resources Department and the Health and Human Services Department, including time and cost for recruitment and training. Currently, Yuba County continues to have very high daily case count, averaging about 30 cases per day, with ongoing contact investigation and contact tracing long-term needs for months and possibly even years. Due to our limited staffing, we had to request staffing assistance from the California Department of Public Health. However, this assistance will end on October 8th, 2021, with no possibility of extension. As the California Department of Public Health's contact investigation and contact tracing support will conclude, and the Health and Human Services Department does not have sufficient specialized staffing to support this required and critical function, we are requesting the board authorize the Director of Health and Human Services Department to contract with the Public Health Institute for contact investigation and contact tracing to ensure these vital state-required services continue without interruption to minimize the spread of communicable disease, including that of COVID-19. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. Any questions? What is the state required service?
The state required service is that we conduct testing, case investigation, contact tracing, surveillance, containment, and mitigation measures in regards to COVID-19.
So specifically for contact tracing, what is it that we're required to do?
Contact tracing is part and parcel with contact investigation. Contact investigation is when we notify a positive case that we know that you're positive, and these are the recommendation for how to appropriately isolate themselves and to remove themselves from their household contacts, their work contacts, and guide them on appropriate measures to seek medical care if they need to. Contact tracing is essentially a mechanism for us to determine those who have been exposed to that positive COVID-19 patient. Most of the time that would be going back 48 hours from the date of first symptom onset from the positive case, or 48 hours back if the positive case was asymptomatic, so 48 hours before they first test positive on a PCR or rapid antigen test.
And so currently we're calling people and having that conversation with them.
So that has been the mode of contact investigation and contact tracing since the beginning of this pandemic. And this is the route that all local health departments have proceeded with. This is foundational communicable disease control and prevention. It's not just very specific to COVID-19. It's how we operate most communicable disease prevention.
I'm curious because when I got my positive test a month ago, I got a robo-text from the state health department, but I was never contacted by our local health department.
So a month ago, what you were dealing with is that we had severe staffing shortages. That's why we needed the California Department of Public Health assistance. We were down to 3 full-time public health staff to manage contact investigation and tracing. And at that time, I think you all recall, we were averaging sometimes up to 80-something cases per day for just Yuba County alone. Our staff couldn't handle that. So when we deal with such an overload of contact investigation and contact tracing needs, we have to triage. And triaging necessitated sort of a mass text messaging notification. And then for those individuals who are notified via text to then contact us if they had further questions, because then we had to prioritize situation where cases were linked to outbreaks or linked to high-risk congregate settings.
So the robo-text satisfied the requirement that we have.
Only because of severe staffing shortage. Going
What we have currently.
It is not something that the state allows if the staffing needs can be met with, again, these contracted services.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Dr. Liu, when you said triage, that indicates that you're going to treat the more serious of the affected people. Do we have a protocol for proactive treatment for positive tests
So
for
triage,
COVID?
yeah,
There are people, there are counties and there are cities that have doctors who provide a protocol for a positive test on COVID that have proven to be effective in the seriousness of the progression of the disease for these individuals. Do we have a protocol?
So I think there has to be a distinction between contact investigation and tracing versus the medical management and clinical management of someone after they test positive. So I believe you're asking, sir, for the latter. And if you're talking about the latter, then of course there are FDA authorized, not approved, authorized medications right now.
Is that a medical decision or a political decision?
So a clinical indication for treatment of mild to moderate COVID-19 is mainly right now with monoclonal antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies are not currently authorized by the FDA to treat hospitalized patients or patients who are too ill requiring oxygen. But I want to clarify that that set of decision making isn't related as much to case investigation and tracing. When we do case investigation, we definitely, through our long discussion with the case, talk to them about this is what COVID-19 is. This is the signs and symptoms that you need to monitor and make sure it doesn't get worse. If it gets worse, then you need to talk to your doctor and seek immediate medical care. And we also ask them, like, how are you feeling? And whether we immediately at the outset of talking to them are very concerned that they need to seek immediate care right away. So that is the strength of contact investigation. And then also finding out how many contacts do they have so that we immediately try to reach those contacts, say, hey, you've been exposed to COVID-19 as a close contact. Please seek testing, immediately quarantine so that you don't propagate the transmission in the community.
Can we receive any feedback on proactive treatment in the state that is successful in lowering the number of COVID serious cases?
I'm not sure that there is a state database that is addressing your question, but I'll try to.
Okay, it's a nice kabuki dance. I think I appreciate that, Dr. Liu, but I've talked to doctors that have a protocol. There's one in Brawley that comes to mind. I don't have his name, but I will get it to you. And he's had 0 cases in that he's addressed with a preliminary treatment for COVID prior to the arrival of symptoms. And I'll get you that information. Thank you. But I'd like to find out what we're doing about for our county. Instead of just sending them home, come back when you have fever. Thank you.
So Dr. Liu, just to follow up on Supervisor Vasquez's question a little bit and make sure that I understand the process correctly. Public health typically focuses on reducing the spread of infectious diseases. And once someone is positive, as an example, COVID positive, the treatment for that falls to the medical providers in the community. Is that a correct understanding of the process, that the county doesn't usually do treatment for things, that we just do prevention activities?
Yes, exactly. So public health purview is to immediately identify positive communicable disease cases, recommend that they isolate so that they break the chain of potential further transmission, and then to expand to their close contact, ask them to quarantine to also break the chain of transmission. The decision about treatment for the positive case, or what we call post-exposure prophylaxis, essentially providing monoclonal antibody treatment for someone who's a close contact after exposure, that's a clinical decision. That is not within the purview of public health. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Do we offer a referral?
We, again, advise them to talk to their doctor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Liu.
Yeah.
So through the chair.
Yes.
Just to be clear on this, so when you contact somebody, there's a recommendation that they contact their physician, or that they watch their symptoms, or that they self-quarantine? What are your hopes that is going to actually happen?
Well, we strongly recommend that they immediately isolate if they're a positive case, and then they immediately quarantine if they're a close contact. So there's a very distinct exact terminology difference. So isolation is for positive COVID-19 cases, and then quarantine is what we use as a terminology for close contact of COVID-19 cases. So once they do that, they stop the potential further transmission into the community, and hopefully they can even isolate away from their household members so they don't infect them. And then we walk through the isolation period. And so most of the time for non-hospitalized positive COVID-19 patients, it's about 10 days from date of first symptom onset, or if they have no symptoms, then it's 10 days from date of first positive test. And then for quarantine individuals, it's a little bit more complicated. It depends on whether you're vaccinated fully or unvaccinated. And then also depends on where is your work setting or school setting, right? So if you work in a high risk congregate setting, such as a jail, your quarantine guidance differs, and there has to be a higher threshold to ask you to quarantine for 14 days versus someone who doesn't work in a high-risk setting can possibly have a shortened quarantine for about 8 days if they get a negative test beforehand. So it's a very complicated, and that's why we as a subject matter public health expert want to be able to reach all these cases, all these close contacts as soon as possible to break the chain of transmission and educate them on the most appropriate evidence-based way to take care of themselves. But right now, we don't have the staff to do that. So that's why this contract is so critical, so that we can have very well-trained, established team through the Public Health Institute to assist us in this very vital, critical function.
One other question was financial. It's a non-general fund cost of $650,000.
Yeah.
Funded by ELC expansion funding. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's called the Epidemiology and Laboratory Capacity Expansion Funding. If you really want to know the full thing, it's the ELC Enhancing Detection Expansion Funding through the Corona Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation Act of 2021, Public Law 116-260.
So it's federal funds?
Yes, sir. Federal fund through the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention allocated to each state. And then from the state level, in consultation with the California Department of Public Health, allocates to each local health jurisdiction within California.
Okay, so these are already pre-approved funds that are sitting out there that you need to use.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Any additional board comments or questions?
I'm curious, we're currently in a downturn in infections, is that right?
We are seeing improvement. So the case count likely have peaked about 2 weeks ago, but we're not great. So it's better than 2 weeks ago, a month ago, where we're not great. Our test positivity is still hanging out at 11 to 12%. If you recall, the purple tier designation way back when we had the blueprint was 8% or higher. So we're still in deep purple if you want to think through that lens. And 30 something cases per 100 our population of 80,000, that's probably going to be factoring about 40 cases per 100,000 is the ratio. That is not good. That's still indicative of very, very high community transmission. We are cautiously optimistic that the improvement in case count, test positivity, and hospitalized cases will continue. However, that could be very short-lived because what we noticed last holiday season, right after basically Halloween, starting mid-November until the early winter times, is that we saw another surge, right? The surge of winter 2020 as people more, gather more for the holidays with family, friends, and loved ones. So we're definitely not out of the woods with this COVID-19 pandemic. It's very much peaks and valleys. Sometimes we're seeing an improvement, but then we think it's over, but then it surged right back up with potentially a new variant. So this need for contact investigation and tracing will be necessary for months, if not even years.
So currently we're in a downturn?
We're seeing an improvement in the case count, test positivity, and hospitalized cases that is consistent with other counties in California. However, it is not going to be something that is permanent. It could be very short-lived and really matters in regards to vaccination coverage in our two counties of Yuba and Sutter, and also the movement of individuals and adherence to try and establish mitigation measures to stop transmission.
My curiosity is, if we're currently in a downturn, and when you were doing the contact tracing, we had a surge, and when you were unable to do the contact tracing because of the surge, we now are into a downturn. It seems like perhaps the contact tracing isn't very useful. And if the instructions you give during the contact tracing are the exact same instructions that they're getting from their medical provider, I don't know that that redundancy really matters.
So we're actually giving very vital, timely information that they're not getting from the medical provider. So we are the subject matter experts in public health in regards to contact investigation and contact tracing and the details of isolation and quarantine. Medical providers can't know that. And we know that because we have had to repeatedly educate local medical providers who have made, unfortunately, mistakes in determining appropriate isolation duration, appropriate close contact definition, appropriate testing modalities for close contact, and appropriate quarantine duration, depending on the different settings where which individuals work and go to school.
That's
So-
interesting because my friend who works at the DMV was drafted over to the contact tracing department. I didn't realize he was more of an expert than doctors. That's awesome.
So we, in terms of public health expertise, we get our guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and from the California Department of Public Health. Utilizing those nationally and state established guidance, we train all these individuals, regardless of their underlying background, to be able to be skilled, appropriate contact investigator and contact tracer. You don't need to be a public health nurse just to do appropriate contact investigation and tracing. What you need to do is be open to being trained by established public health experts based on guidance that we know are evidence-based.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. Any public comment on this item? Please make sure and state your name.
Yes, hello. I'm Donna Wahlberg, and I live up near Hallwood. I have a big problem with this. I don't know if I can ask questions, probably not. But I read where, there's different measures depending on the, varying set of facts that they would do to quarantine. If somebody is, depends on their household, if their household will accommodate putting a high-risk person that has been in contact with the virus, they can isolate them in the home, they would do that. If they don't, if that's not practical or that's not the facts that support that, they actually would take them out of the home and put them in a facility, a lockdown facility, make sure that they are, keeping their hands washed and taking their vitamins and, monitoring them, basically putting them in prison, okay? This whole thing is ridiculous. There has never been any science to support this COVID virus being any worse than a common cold or flu, and all high-risk people are, it's a real thing. They can get extremely sick. They can, even face death if they get a virus, a flu, bug, whatever. But we've never gone to this extreme, taken these extreme measures to take away people's freedom. And I'm guessing going to surveillance them. There's going to be discrimination against those who have taken a vaccine and who have not. What do you do if someone says, are you going to try to force them to take a vaccine? I mean, that's a question I have, and I kind of suspect you would try. This is, I can't believe that so many people have fallen for this with no science whatsoever. There's no science to support that any of these measures that you've put in place have worked. It's just outrageous. This is going to become like Nazi Germany and concentration camps. And I recommend, I suggest, I ask you, we the people, do not approve this contract because these folks are going to implement measures, I think, that are going to be horrifying. There's going to be atrocities. This is outrageous. I thank you for your resolution. Your resolution was wonderful about the vaccine mandates. It was strong. It was so much stronger than Sutter County's. It was wonderful. I'm so bummed that the ordinance didn't pass, but you know, I hope something's still going to happen with that resolution. That's the stand that we need to take, that I ask you to continue to take. You have been so good at listening to the people that you represent, your constituents. And I really appreciate, I feel very blessed that we live in this county where we have a board that listens and that takes action based on the best interest of their constituents. And I'm asking you to please continue on the path that you were taking with the resolution. Do not, federal and state are taking over all county power.
Please wrap it up.
Okay, so anyway, I'm just urging you not to approve this contract and to oppose any of this contact tracing and harassing people and, you know, invading their right to privacy. The whole thing is just ridiculous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wahlberg. Any additional public comment on this item? Okay, I don't see any. I will return it to the board for a motion. I'll move to approve. Is there a second? Okay, without a second, motion dies. Okay, moving on to item 466, oops, that's the one we just did. Next up is ordinances and public hearings. If you challenge in court the action or decision of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors regarding a zoning, planning, land use, or environmental protection matter made at any hearing described in this notice, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at such hearing, or written correspondence delivered to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors at or prior to such hearing. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group. We have one item under public hearing. It's item 503-2021, public hearing, hold public hearing and adopt resolution approving amendment to Recology Yuba Sutter Collection Service Agreement for associated rates pertaining to the Ponderosa landfill post-closure and transfer station. I will open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean Powers, Assistant County Administrator, presenting this item to you today. This item is looking at amending our collective services agreement that's with the Regional Waste Management Authority, or the RWMA, as we like to call it for short. We are looking at just 2 exhibits that are actually comprised that affect Ponderosa. I will open this up by saying we will ask the board to continue this item, even though we still want to present it as agendized. After the agenda was posted, we conferred with council a little bit more and realized there's probably another attachment that needs to be included in the agenda packet. It would be attachment A, that's exhibit A in the collective services agreement, that talks about how the Ponderosa transfer element factors into the regular maximum fee rate. So this item will come back to your board. Again, we'll renotice the item to make sure it's publicly noticed properly, to show that we're looking at 3 of the exhibits in the collective services agreement as opposed to just the 2. But since we did agendize the 2, I'd like to still present and discuss those with your board. We've also had an opportunity to discuss this item with Supervisor Fletcher in his absence, and he did request some information that's going to be presented that Recology is here to describe and discuss today as well. Exhibit G, which is one part of the 2 parts of the exhibits that we were looking at today, does talk about the transfer station element rate. That is the factor that discusses the post-closure maintenance costs of the Ponderosa landfill. And the other component is the Exhibit H, which are the actual fees that go along with utilizing the transfer station at Ponderosa. So with those, we have 2 modest rate increases. This is to cover the costs of post-closure maintenance fees and also the fees to run the transfer station up there at Ponderosa. It is ultimately the users and the county's responsibility to cover the fees for these services. We have budgeted an amount in this year's budget to cover any shortfall, but it is our intent to eliminate any shortfall, as that is the goal of the county, to protect your board's discretionary funds. With that, we also have Allison Burley from Aurora Environmental. She is the Regional Waste Management Authority's consultant that thoroughly reviews these fees from Recology when they're presented, along with your county administrator's office. And we also have Rigo Diaz and Stephanie Kendall from Recology as well, if you have any specific questions for Recology on this item. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board.
Are there any questions from the board?
Where is the transfer station?
Up the hill at Ponderosa. Kevin, I think you probably get the better land use or land designation for that.
The community of Brownsville. The
Okay.
community of Brownsville.
Oh, clear up at Brownsville.
Yes.
All right.
If I could, just through the chair, just to give the board a little bit of background, it's within the community of Brownsville. It's a piece of land actually owned by the Bureau of Land Management. The county operated a landfill on the site, and then the county also subleased some of the property to a community services district that operates a park on part of the BLM property. And through the collection service agreement with Recology, Recology has taken on the responsibility of maintaining post-closure of the landfill as well as operating a transfer station.
Any public comment on this item? Okay. I will close the public hearing, and just for confirmation, are you asking us to approve anything today, or we're waiting until it's brought back before the board?
As Supervisor Bradford, actually, I'd like the opportunity for Recology to actually come up and make a comment. That was what Supervisor Fletcher requested.
Okay.
It was to cover a quick review of how customers can attain dump passes. That might be able to help with the increase from what's being proposed. But we are asking the board to continue this item and have that action come back at your next board meeting.
Okay. So given that there'll be additional testimony or comment, I will reopen the public hearing. And you can hear from Recology.
Morning, members of the board. In reference to the question about the dump passes are available calendar year, January 1st. Every Yuba County resident is eligible with service with us, is eligible for 4 dump passes to the Marysville transfer station. So it being towards the end of September, starting October, they have 3 months if they haven't got their 2021 coupons. So they'll have 3 months to get them. And then come January 1st, they'll be eligible for 4 more coupons for use.
I would like to store mine up, so just have it keep rolling forward, so I can use all 50 at one time.
We know how that works, right, Supervisor Fear?
Just a quick follow-up on that. And it may not be, I don't mean to confuse it here because I don't know if this option is available for everyone in the county or just the urban areas of the county, but those dump passes can be traded and used for bulky item pickup as well.
That is correct.
Okay, and is that for everyone or is that just for those in the urban areas of the county?
That is for everyone.
Okay, okay. I know I've taken advantage of that. It was great. Then.
That's right.
Okay, any additional questions from the board? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing. Do we need a motion to continue it or can the board just continue it?
It should be by motion, yes.
I would like to motion to continue it.
I have a first and a second to continue the item to our next meeting. Is that the board's pleasure?
To the next meeting.
Okay. Roll call vote, please, Mary.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Okay, next up is correspondence. It's as listed on the agenda. And then board and staff member reports. Supervisor Vasquez.
Interesting conversation on that COVID. You know, if you're going to call it cases, at least allow them an option to I got a young lady on a ventilator, a child, and because of quarantine after positive test. Okay, let's see. Have to report on the vaccine status, anti-discrimination ordinance ad hoc committee. We did not reach a consensus on creating an ordinance, and I don't feel that we had a problem in our county. Medical facilities are restricted to state guidelines. As much as I don't like to wear masks, I do when I go into a state facility. So that's how that ad hoc committee turned out. And I think County Council, do we have anything to add to that, or is just, it was not needed?
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. I think you correctly addressed the issue that the ad hoc committee did not come to a consensus on how to proceed. And this is the report back to the full board from the ad hoc committee under our rules of procedure. And another supervisor may want to speak. The other member, Supervisor Fuhrer of the ad hoc committee, might want to speak to it. But under our rules of procedure, section 10.3, after the report back, the ad hoc committee shall make their recommendation to the board and immediately be dissolved without further board action. So the lack of consensus is the report back from your ad hoc committee.
All right. Thank you. I was going to list all the lies from our government. It's just, the news is so crowded with different things that, I'm with the government, I'm here to help you, and 4.3 trillion spending bill will cost zero.
Yeah.
100 emails of Russian disinformation. The Afghanistan drone strike was a righteous from Milli Vanilli, and no Americans will be left behind. And if you ever get a chance, the supervisor, ride along and see what they encounter out there, and your perspective may change, because no people were whipped by horse crowd control people, and the border is anything but closed. They just finally admitted they let loose 15,000 people. I would like to know if we can find out if we're receiving refugees from the Texas border, or are we seeing any jump in any of the other cross traffic at the border?
We can look into that. Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the Afghanistan refugees, I don't believe our county is slated. They had certain counties in the state that were slated to receive those refugees.
Well, I would just think if we get a jump in medical use from some of these people that we build the government, I know I'll get an IOU, I'm sure. But
Jen, is there anything you'd like to add on the refugee?
It concerns me.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been receiving communications from the California Department of Social Services on where the refugees have been placed throughout California. So there are some in Sacramento, but we've been monitoring it closely, and we don't currently have any in our county or are scheduled to have any coming to our county at this time. But we have been getting updates and we are monitoring the situation, but there isn't any impact here locally at this time.
I'm just kind of curious, because we did get surprised with a visitor from Menlo Park for our judicial system, which cost us thousands of dollars.
And we're getting briefings, I want to say, once or twice a week. And so really don't think that there's going to be any impact here locally, but we'll make sure we've been in communication with Kevin, and we'll let you guys know if we hear anything further. Okay.
Thank you. You guys are doing a great job with what we got. We don't need any help. All right, that's it.
Okay, Supervisor Blazer.
Well, like Andy said, it's kind of hard to know where to start nowadays. I do see a huge disparity in opinions, because I have some friends in the Bay Area, and the demographics vary so much around the state, and opinions, it's just hard to comprehend sometimes. You get some people with opinions, particularly in that area, that it's just beyond conversation. So anyway, I think I'll just concentrate on worrying about the drought. So that's probably high on my list. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Fuhrer.
I was disappointed that the ad hoc committee was not able to come forward with an ordinance. I'll continue to push for the equal application of law and to protect the citizens that are currently not as protected as they should be.
Thank you. Council, anything today?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
CAO Mallon?
Too fast on the button there. Nothing really to add other than to remind the board, I'll be at the RCRC conference later this week.
Okay, I think the board will be joining you.
I too will be there.
Okay, and I don't have anything this week. So with that, we have an item time certain at 10:30. It's a closed session item. We will actually be doing it in this room. I know usually we go off into our little separate conference room. So I will ask that if you're not authorized to be part of that closed session, you'll actually need to clear this room when we take a recess in just a moment. You can certainly wait outside, and we will invite you back in as soon as the closed session is over. So you have the opportunity to hear the report from closed session. And then we will adjourn the meeting until 10:30, at which point we will resume in here in this room for closed session. So, thank you.
Well, I shouldn't say Mike's are dead. No recording.
Because we have people on Zoom. So do we kick them out of the room and let them know that they can come back, or?
Create a breakout room.
It's not going to our conference room.
Is it public or is it staff? There's public. Yeah, so I think I'll give an announcement on Zoom and they're all gonna be moved to the waiting room.
Yeah, you can move them to the waiting.
And they will be moved back into open session once. So you guys will have to give us a moment.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many people are gonna be there.
That's not a problem. I can't imagine that many there.
So have you already stopped the recording, Mary? Okay, I'll do it in a minute.
Thursday, how late do we stay on Thursday? Not really clear.
Spend the night.
We're not spending night. They're the only ones spending night. They didn't do night for us on Thursday, right? Yeah, it's really odd. That is a mistake. Can you tell them that? Because we were trying to figure our stuff out. Mary? Thank you.
There's a dinner
Right.
on Thursday night, and you do not want to come back after that dinner.
Right. That's why I was so
I've
confused.
never not been. Except when I couldn't, I had to come back. Like this year, I was actually planning to not stay. I had something here on Friday.
So they don't have a night press. So anyway, so after the dinner, we're gonna go and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I'll be right.
Okay.
I was gonna leave, around midnight on Thursday.
Right? Right, because we don't have a room.
Well, if I didn't have a room, I would
Good morning, everyone. This is Rochelle Ferris. I'm the clerk of the board. I'm letting you know that the Board of Supervisors is going to have their closed session in the board chambers. So to facilitate that, anyone that is left in the Zoom room is going to get moved into the waiting room. And then when they come back into open session, I'll move you back. If you have any questions, I'll leave it open for just a moment. Okay, I'm going to start moving you back into the waiting room at this time.
Okay, we will resume the Board of Supervisors meeting. We are now in closed session. We have one item on the closed session agenda, item 518-2021, personnel matter pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, appeal of denial of leave without pay, one case.
Yeah, it's always been unusual. People ask me, how was my weekend? I didn't even realize.
We're returning from closed session. We'll have a quick report out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The board met in closed session on item number 518-2021, the personnel matter pursuant to Government Code 54957, appeal of denial of leave without pay. After hearing the testimony, the board, by a 4-0 decision, voted to deny the appeal and to uphold the denial of leave without pay. Again, that was by a 4-0 vote. Supervisors Bradford, Fuhrer, Blazer, and Vasquez attending that closed session. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, I will adjourn today's meeting.
All right. So now I've got my research. Yes.
I apologize. There was one thing left for me to share today during the meeting that I forgot to actually say during board and staff member reports, so I do apologize for that. We will be adjourning the meeting today in memory of Dean Sellers and also Alamaro. Dean passed away on September 9th and was a county auditor for years. And Alamaro passed away on September 6th and was the District 1 supervisor from January 3rd, 1995 through January 6, 2003. So we are adjourning the meeting in memory of those individuals today and for their service to the county. Yep, I would love all 5 supervisors to sign the letter. Thank you.